Our next step is to put a groove in the back of the side panels that our back panel will mate to, and so that it's going to be the secret panel that will release and drop down so you can store whatever you feel is necessary. I'll reveal what I'm going to store later on in the video. So we're going to cut these grooves in these two panels on the table saw. We're not doing a through cut. We're just going to cut a 1/4 inch wide groove and move the fence hopefully one time, but maybe more, we'll see.
Speeding up to 8 times here. We're cutting a groove that the back panel will ride in as it's released for access to the secret compartment. This is sort of a kind of like a mortise and tenon, but it's a sliding groove.
Okay, I'm going to check the size of the groove. I'm hoping for a 1/4 inch, but if it's close, that'll probably be close enough. I just used the gauge on the fence, so you know how accurate that is and how accurate your eyes are. $29 1/38. 29 1/28. Let's change it to decibels. .227. Okay, I think I'm going to stick with that. This groove is not going to be used for any kind of structural support. It's just going to be used for that back panel to slide on like a rail. So that's it for now. The next step is to figure out how to make these loose tenons in the mitered joints before we glue everything up. Okay, so here is the step we're on right now. I'm cutting a groove in the bevel on this test piece. This was an offcut. I went through a lot of iterations, at least in my mind. I wanted to use the undomino machine. As you should know, there's nothing with the word festool on it in my shop. But I do have an undomino, which we'll use later in the build, but it's not going to work for this process. So what I've done, gone back and forth between the table saw, the router shaper molder machine, and then finally to the handheld router to cut this groove. I just didn't feel the other two machines were safe enough to do this stopped groove. I wouldn't call it a dado, but I'm going to put a spline in here which will be cut taller than this one, obviously, but this was just a test piece of oak that I had left over. So this fits nicely in the groove. There'll be a matching groove in all 4 panels of this box, and we will be able to do our glue up and have some additional support for these beveled joints. So, and the other thing that I've done here, and because clamps were in the way, obviously, is I've just double-sided tape to my workbench. So I will. I'm going to fix one of the project pieces and come back and show a little clip of this groove cut. So a little bit more on the backstory behind why this angled wooden tenon was created. my mother always used to say, necessity is the mother of invention. And I guess I never really thought much about it when I was a kid. Because all those big words were just like, can we go out and play now? So here is the solution that works for my stupidity. Like I showed earlier, basically, you know what angle iron is? This is anglewood. Originally, what I thought I was going to do was just use a straight piece. But then when I realized, when I brought my other piece over for assembly, that doesn't work like that. I can put it together like this. That makes for a very small box and a weird joint. So, after a moment of panic and anger and a long talk on the phone with someone who knows less than I do about woodworking, which is not much, I just had the epiphany of making this angled piece. And we haven't done the glue up yet, so you know, the proof will be in that pudding, but I wanted to tell you why this came about and kind of, you know, what my desperation was to try and save this mahogany for my side table. I wanted to have the concealed compartment on this build to have a magnetic catch that releases, and the back panel will slide down. I don't want the back panel to fall out and hit the floor, so one of the things I'm doing is I'm drilling holes in the bottom of the back of the box to receive 1/2-inch magnets. I'll also mortise a steel plate into the back piece, which will drop. My hope is that there'll be enough attraction with the magnets to catch it so that it doesn't fall out. But if you want to take it out, you'll still be able to, which is kind of would be a bonus, I think. The machine I'm using for this is the Shopsmith. It's the first woodworking power tool, other than hand power tools. It's the first large woodworking machine I ever purchased. I found that I really don't like it. It is a fine drill press and a fine lathe, but the other features are really such bad trade-offs in size and design and flexibility that they just don't work well, and I've replaced all the other features with standalone machines which work great. But one of the neat things about the Shopsmith is that because the table is used for so many different things, this same table is the table saw table. It's the drill press table. It's used for other features that the Shopsmith provides. It has the ability to turn fully 90 degrees, and so I've clamped this long board to the table, and I'm able to drill these holes in this 20-inch long board much easier than I think you could do on many other drill presses. So I was kind of happy with the fact that seems to work out for this particular application. And so I'm going to finish drilling up these holes. And again, I know I've said this a bunch of times before, but I'm really, really hoping that today is the day for this drawer box glue up. So more in a minute. So the time has finally arrived. We're finally going to glue up this silly little box that I've been working on for weeks. Dragging you all along with me if there's anybody left. So I'm super stressed. I've done test clamp ups at least a dozen times, and I had a lot of trouble. And I think I've worked through all those little issues. And it seems like it should be super simple, but you know what they say: if you're scared, say you're scared. So I'm scared. So what I've got to do is I've got to glue in my tenons, my anglewood tenons. I've got to put glue in the grooves. I've got to put glue on the bevels. I've got to put glue on this divider piece. This is the bottom of the box. And this divider will be between the drawer area and my little secret hiding place in the back. I've got to glue that, and then I've got the sides and the top. You know, they've all got tenons, they've all got these grooves in them, and the bevels. So that's really all I've got to do. I've got to get those pieces, I've got to get glue on all of them, and then I've got to get, clamps and squaring brackets and everything to pull this thing into looking good. So it's gonna be stressful. It's gonna take a while, and I'm probably not going to talk through it. Hopefully I'll do some sort of voiceover during the process to let you know anything interesting, if there is anything. So I'm going to get started. Here we go. Like I said, if you're scared, say you're scared. Okay.
Here we are at 16 times normal speed. See John run. I wish I could actually move this fast. The gluing process took just under 20 minutes, so I'm very glad I chose Tight Bond Extend for this part of the work. Tight Bond Extend has a working time of 20 to 25 minutes, at least according to the product literature. Note the small wood blocks on the sides and top. They have mitered edges and are held in place with double-sided tape. This allows us to install clamps and apply pressure in a way that pulls the mitered faces of the project parts together. Wood River clamping squares, purchased at Woodcraft, help hold the corners at 90 degrees until the glue dries. You can find these at woodcraft.com.